welcome back, Cheeseheads, to another episode of BAM GPG. So, Bryson, the 53-man roster cut down is tomorrow, Tuesday, 3 p.m. deadline. Teams have to trim their rosters down to 53 before week 1 of the NFL season. So what's that mean for the Packers? So there's been a lot of competition this offseason at a lot of different positions for Green Bay. And as you know, we've been pretty banged up, so that could factor in as well. But here are some of the players that Bryson and I think are probably on the bubble of either making the team or being cut tomorrow before the 3 p.m. deadline. So first one here, Bryson, is linebacker Christian Welch. So he's a longtime bubble vet, so his spot's not necessarily guaranteed. Marshawn Lloyd, running back, I don't think he's going to be cut, but he is a probable IR candidate with a mid-season return. It's really unfortunate with this guy. It's just injury after injury, but I think he's probably an IR candidate going into the season. Jacob Monk, offensive lineman, injury status complicates a lot of the active roster inclusion with him. And Baron Sorrell, so defensive lineman Baron Sorrell, he's questionable designation with the IR. He doesn't want to be placed on it, I know, but still uncertain with his roster status for tomorrow, whether or not he'll be placed on that. Zane Anderson, defensive back, we know his injury this previous preseason game. He's on the injury bubble list, like Sorrell and Marshawn Lloyd. So he's active versus IR, kind of borderline right now. And then Omar Brown, the safety. So he has limited experience thus far in his career, competing against a lot of depth and that roster position, right? Safety Omar Brown. And then an interesting one, a wide receiver Green Bay had just signed this offseason, Bryson, Mecole Hardman. So you saw...
I don't think he'll get caught.
You saw him. He's had a few highlights at wide receiver during the training camp, but you saw him also taking some the special teams kickoffs, punt returns. But the interesting thing, so Mecole Hardman is a vested veteran, right? So the salary implications cast a little bit of doubt on him because of that and the depth we do have at wide receiver. Isaiah Simmons is another one, linebacker, veteran presence that we signed this offseason. Same financial concern as the other vested veterans on the team. And then Corey Ballentine, cornerback. So he's also a vested vet. So the salary guarantee makes the roster spot a little more challenging or interesting, right? So Bryson, when I say vested veteran, so what's that mean? So that's a salary guarantee. A vested veteran, say they're on the week 1 roster, their entire base salary for the season then becomes fully guaranteed, even if they are released later on in the year. So that kind of complicates your decision a little bit if you are a GM. If, say that player's on the bubble of making the team, maybe you have some younger players on the roster that you're able to kind of flex into your practice squad. You're not totally vested into their salary like you are with a veteran player, like a Mecole Hardman, right? So an example of this one, Bryson, would be Mecole Hardman, right? Say he's scheduled to make $3 million this year. He stays on the 53-man roster past week 1. Green Bay then owes him the full amount, whether or not he's cut, in September, October, November. So again, this makes teams more cautious if they're unsure about keeping a player long-term. They might cut them now, re-sign them again later after week 1, so the salary is not guaranteed. But if they do make the roster starting week 1, their salary does become vested, guaranteed for that team. So again, younger players without the vested status can be moved to the practice squad or waived for far less financial risk later in the season, as you would a veteran player. So for veterans, the team really has to weigh the performance versus the cost. If a player is marginally better than a younger player, as I mentioned, the team might prefer the younger player because they're the cheaper option. And they maintain the flexibility of moving them to the practice squad without the financial implications of it. So again, some of those players that I mentioned, you have Mecole Hardman, Isaiah Simmons, Corey Ballentine, who would be on the bubble because of that. Quick snapshot of these players. So Mecole Hardman, he's set to make a base salary of $1.17 million this year, right? Signing bonus of $150,000. So only $150,000 is guaranteed up front of that contract. If he makes a week one, the remaining $1.02 million of his contract is guaranteed, right? So that's where the decision has to come in, whether or not he is a solidified spot on the roster, or if he is a bubble player, maybe you potentially go with a younger player, maybe not quite as good as him, but is on the brink, right? And then Isaiah Simmons, his cap hit this year is $1.19 million. Corey Ballentine's is $1.17 million. Same thing as Mecole Hardman, right? You got to figure out if that's what you want to take against your cap hit, if they're good enough to stay on the team, or if they're a player that you could see cutting, a month or two down the road once you start to get some of these other healthy players back in there. You may potentially cut them now and opt for the younger, cheaper player. So it'll be interesting tomorrow, Bryson, to see what the Packers do. Do they stick with that veteran presence, a solid veteran presence, keep them on the team, or do they opt, with Gutekunst, it's all financial. So do they opt to cut these players and save a little bit in the cap space now? It'll be interesting to see what the Packers do tomorrow. Again, the deadline is 3 p.m. tomorrow to get that roster trimmed down to 53 men. So we will be back tomorrow with an update, let you know what the Packers roster is going to look like going into week 1 against the Detroit Lions. And as always, Bryson,
it's go Pack go.